Google just dropped a quantum breakthrough that's never been seen before, an entirely new state of matter born inside their Willow chip. China's claiming it built an AI that works like a real brain and runs 100 times faster than ChatGPT without using NVIDIA chips. And the United States just passed a law forcing AI companies to install kill switches before launching new models. What once seemed impossible is real now, so let's break it down. Alright, so we're starting with something that's been quietly redefining what's even possible in physics. Google's Willow quantum chip. This thing just pulled off something that had never been seen outside of theoretical papers. Researchers from Google, working alongside teams at Princeton and the Technical University of Munich, used Willow to create what's called a Floquet topologically ordered state. Now that term sounds like academic overkill, but it's basically a whole new state of matter, and not just any matter, quantum matter, that only exists when you push the system out of equilibrium. It's not stable, like ice, water, or vapor. It's not even supposed to exist under classical rules. It only emerges when the system is constantly being driven, pulsed, and kept dancing under some rhythmic external force. So how do they actually see this thing? That's the part where it gets even more wild. The team designed an interferometric algorithm, which in quantum terms is like building a tool to watch interference patterns that usually stay hidden. Using that, they track the transmutation of exotic particles. These aren't particles you can observe with a normal setup. These are the kind of phenomena that existed only on paper, inside math, until now. And this isn't just an interesting lab stunt, it means quantum chips like Willow aren't just about hitting insane speeds, they're now full-blown physics labs. They're giving scientists the tools to explore states of matter that can't be accessed any other way. In a weird twist, this also feeds directly into the multiverse discussion again. So if you remember back in 2023, Willow pulled off that famous computation in under 5 minutes, a problem that would have taken classical supercomputers billions of years. That result had physicists dusting off Hugh Everett's many worlds interpretation again, because if you've got a chip acting like it's running through billions of possibilities at once, well, you start asking how many of those possibilities are actually real in some way. Now add this new Floquet state on top of that, and you've got even more fuel for that kind of conversation. No, it's not proof of the multiverse, but it's also not the kind of result you can explain away with regular physics. That's what makes it exciting. But here's where it gets even more relevant to our world: humanoid, robotics, and advanced AI systems. What Google just demonstrated isn't only about exotic physics. By proving that you can simulate non-equilibrium quantum states, you're also proving that these chips could eventually simulate complex biological systems, brains, neural behavior, maybe even molecular architectures that can evolve over time. So when we're thinking about what kind of chips future humanoids might run on, it might not be about speed or data capacity anymore. It might be about accessing behaviors that only show up in quantum dynamic systems, and Willow is opening that door. Meanwhile, over in China, things are getting just as intense, but from a totally different angle. Researchers there have dropped a new language model called Spiking Brain 1.0. They're calling it the first truly brain-like AI system, and here's the headline: it's reportedly up to 100 times faster than models like ChatGPT or Microsoft's Copilot. 100, not 10, not 20, 100. Now the trick here is that Spiking Brain doesn't work like the models we're all used to, so let's break that down a bit. Large language models today, stuff like GPT, work by processing entire sequences of words using something called the attention mechanism. It compares each word to every other word to build context. It's powerful but incredibly resource heavy. You're basically turning on the whole circuit every time and doing billions of operations just to figure out if bat refers to a baseball bat or the animal. Spiking Brain ditches that whole system. Instead of scanning the full input like a floodlight, it fires more like a human brain only when and where it's needed. It uses local context. It's more selective, more sparse, and a lot less wasteful. Think neurons firing when needed instead of the whole brain lighting up just to complete a single task. That's how it achieves its efficiency. The researchers claim it needs less than 2% of the training data required by open source models today. 2%! And yet, it performs at competitive levels. That's not just an efficiency win, it's a whole new paradigm for how we might build models going forward, especially in humanoids, where energy efficiency is critical. You don't want a robot burning through kilowatts of power just to interpret a sentence. You want real-time, efficient cognition that works like a brain, not like a data center. And it gets even more strategic. Spiking Brain doesn't need NVIDIA GPUs. It runs on domestic hardware, specifically chips built by a Chinese company called X. That might sound like a technical side note, but it's a massive deal geopolitically. Given the current export restrictions from the United States on advanced GPUs, China creating a system that doesn't rely on them changes the game. It gives them a more independent AI stack, from hardware to model, which is exactly what countries are racing toward in this whole AI arms race. If this thing holds up, it's not just fast and efficient, it's sovereign. Now, sure, these are still early claims. We need benchmarks, we need peer-reviewed validation, we need to see how Spiking Brain performs outside the lab. But if even half of this is accurate, we're looking at the next big pivot in AI architecture, especially for real-world embedded applications, like humanoids walking around in hospitals, warehouses, or disaster zones. If they can run advanced cognition on less energy and custom hardware, we're not just evolving LLMs, we're evolving robots themselves. And speaking of oversight and evolution, the United States just made a pretty serious move on the regulatory front. OpenAI and Anthropic have both agreed to let their newest models be evaluated before they're released to the public. The evaluations will be done by the United States Artificial Intelligence Safety Institute. Google's in talks to join that list too. This is new. This has never happened before at this scale. That means before any next generation model gets launched, it has to go through a full safety and compliance check. The institute isn't just reading documents or sitting on panels. They'll actually have access to the models. They can test them for bias, for harmful outputs, for emergent behavior, basically anything that could cause real-world problems. And this doesn't stop once the model is released. The institute will retain ongoing access so they can continue monitoring performance over time. The institute itself was created in 2023 through an executive order by the Biden administration. It works closely with the United Kingdom's own AI Safety Institute, and together they're aiming to build international testing standards. That's huge because up until now, there hasn't been much of a framework for pre-release AI safety testing, especially not at this level of access and independence. And there's also a state-level move that's just as serious. California passed Senate Bill 10147. It requires that large or high-risk models undergo safety evaluations, include a built-in kill switch, and face potential lawsuits if they fail to comply. That's not just policy, it's enforceable action. It signals that oversight is no longer a soft request. It's a legal requirement. And for companies operating at the front lines of AI, from OpenAI to Google, this changes how fast and how freely they can release new tools. This whole setup could end up being one of the most important pivots in the way AI systems get developed and deployed, especially in fields like robotics, where the consequences of failure are more than just bad text or weird images. We're talking about physical systems with agency in the real world. That's all I've got for today. Let me know what you think in the comments. Drop a like if you found this breakdown useful, and of course, subscribe if you don't want to miss what's coming next. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.